The massive exploration vessel Dauntless emerged from hyperspace at the edge of the Carina Nebula, its reinforced hull gleaming under the light of distant stars. At 2 kilometers long, the ship represented the pinnacle of human engineering. Every system triple redundant, every hull plate designed to withstand the harshest conditions space could present. Captain Sarah Chen stood on the bridge, dark eyes studying the sensor readings that painted an extraordinary picture of the region ahead. After 3 years of deep space exploration, they'd finally found signs of advanced civilization. Multiple artificial structures detected, announced Lieutenant Marcus Rodriguez from his sensor station. Energy signatures unlike anything in our database. And wait. He paused, fingers dancing across his console. We're being scanned. The energy patterns suggest technology far beyond our current understanding. Sarah straightened her uniform, a habit from her decade of service in the Earth Exploration Force. Life support status. All systems nominal, reported Chief Engineer Amara Okafor through the ship's comm. Primary and backup systems running at optimal efficiency. Emergency systems standing by. Her voice carried the pride of someone who maintained a vessel built to survive anything the universe might throw at it. The sensor display suddenly blazed with new contacts. Ships appeared around them, seemingly materializing from nowhere. Their designs were organic, almost liquid in appearance, a stark contrast to the Dauntless's angular, fortress-like construction. Incoming transmission, Rodriguez announced. They're broadcasting on multiple frequencies. Universal Translator is processing. A melodic voice filled the bridge, its artificial translation carrying undertones of alarm. Unknown vessel, you have entered Meridian Alliance space. Your weapons signatures exceed all known safety protocols. State your intentions immediately. Sarah frowned. Weapons signatures. Lieutenant, tactical analysis. Rodriguez worked his console, then gave a knowing smile. Captain, I believe they're reading our emergency systems as weapons. The redundant power cores, reinforced hull plating, point defense grid. They're interpreting our safety measures as military hardware. Open a channel, Sarah ordered, suppressing a smile of her own. When Rodriguez nodded, she spoke clearly and calmly. Meridian Alliance vessels, this is Captain Sarah Chen of the Earth Exploration Vessel Dauntless. We are a peaceful research and exploration ship. What you're detecting are our standard safety and survival systems. A pause followed then. Your vessel carries enough power generation to fuel a small star system. Your hull could withstand direct stellar flare impact. Every centimeter of your ship bristles with what you claim are defensive systems. Do you expect us to believe this is standard for a research vessel? Sarah glanced at her crew, seeing the same realization dawn across their faces. Humanity's approach to space exploration, born from harsh lessons and countless lost lives, must seem utterly foreign to a civilization that had developed along different lines. Alliance vessels, I understand your concern. Allow me to explain. Every system you're detecting represents a lesson learned in blood. Would you permit us to share our historical records? To show you why we build our ships this way? Another pause, longer this time. When the response came, it carried a hint of curiosity beneath the suspicion. Proceed. Sarah nodded to Rodriguez, who began transmitting. The loss of the Gagarin to micrometeorite impacts, the Zhongwei's reactor breach, the destruction of the Magellan in an unexpected subspace anomaly. Decades of space exploration, each disaster teaching humanity to build stronger, safer, more redundant systems. As the records transmitted, new readings appeared on their sensors. The Alliance vessels were powering down their active scanning systems. Their formation shifted from clearly defensive to something more neutral. Your species, the Meridian voice finally said, approaches space travel unlike any we have encountered. Where we seek to bend space to our will, you armor yourselves against its very nature. Where we rely on singular, perfect systems, you build layers of backups expecting failure. Space shows no mercy to the unprepared, Sarah responded. We'd rather look paranoid than lose more lives to its dangers. Every backup system, every reinforced plate, every redundancy represents our commitment to survival. The Meridian ships moved again, their formation opening to allow a larger vessel to approach. Its design was even more elegant than the others, its surface rippling with patterns that might have been language or art. Perhaps, the new Meridian voice suggested, there is wisdom in your approach we had not considered. Our own exploration has focused on understanding space's fundamental nature, yet you have mastered the art of surviving its dangers. A pause. We would learn from each other, if you are willing. Sarah felt the tension on the bridge dissolve into excitement. First contact had begun, not with conflict, but with the recognition that different paths to the stars could lead to mutual understanding. We would be honored, she replied, already imagining the possibilities of combining human resilience with Meridian insight. I suggest we begin by exchanging basic technological principles, our approach to survival systems for your understanding of space-time manipulation. As the Dauntless's crew began preparations for extended diplomatic and scientific exchange, Sarah reflected on the irony. Humanity's cautious, some might say paranoid, approach to space travel had nearly sparked an interstellar incident. Yet it was that very approach, the visible evidence of hard lessons learned, that had opened the door to understanding. The massive exploration vessel held position near the Meridian fleet, its heavy armor and multiple backup systems no longer a source of concern, but a testament to humanity's determination to explore the cosmos, no matter the cost. First contact had succeeded not through perfect diplomacy or overwhelming technology, but through the simple recognition that survival itself was an art worth mastering. 3 weeks into the cultural exchange between the Dauntless and the Meridian Alliance, alarms blared through both fleets. Captain Sarah Chen was deep in discussion with First Speaker Lyra, the Meridian's chief diplomat, when the alert interrupted their meeting about combining human and Meridian technologies. Multiple quantum distortions detected, Lieutenant Rodriguez reported, his fingers flying across his console. Scale and intensity unprecedented in our records. The main view screen showed a web of crackling energy spreading across space like lightning through storm clouds. The Meridian ship's fluid surfaces rippled with patterns that Sarah had learned to recognize as extreme agitation. Impossible. First Speaker Lyra's translated voice wavered. The quantum fabric itself is destabilizing. Such events only exist in theoretical models. Chief Engineer Okafor's voice cut through the growing tension. Captain, the distortions are affecting our shield harmonics. Compensation protocols engaging, but the effect is spreading faster than our systems can adapt. Sarah watched as the Meridian vessels began moving away from the phenomenon, their more sensitive systems already feeling its effects. But something about their movement caught her attention. First Speaker, your ships are having trouble maintaining their form coherence, aren't they? The rippling patterns across Lyra's vessel intensified. Our hull technology relies on quantum state manipulation. This anomaly disrupts the very principles we use to maintain our ship's integrity. We must retreat to safer space. Lieutenant, full sensor suite. Amara, give me a projection of the anomaly's expansion rate. Sarah's orders came rapid fire as she processed the implications. The Meridian's advanced technology, usually their greatest strength, had become a vulnerability. Rodriguez's response was grim. At current expansion rates, the anomaly will reach the nearest Meridian colony in 72 hours. Their quantum-based infrastructure won't survive the exposure. They'll have to evacuate millions, Sarah murmured. Then louder, First Speaker, the Dauntless's conventional technology might be less advanced, but it's more resistant to quantum interference. Let us help coordinate evacuation efforts. The Meridian ships had pulled back further, their surfaces now showing visible distortions as the anomaly's influence grew. Captain Chen, while we appreciate the offer, your vessel's power systems would be insufficient to maintain the necessary evacuation corridors. Our own ships can barely. With respect, Amara interrupted, patching in from engineering. Insufficient by whose standards? The Dauntless runs at 30% nominal power during standard operations. We can push our reactors to maximum, engage our emergency power systems, and still have backup capacity. Sarah nodded. We built this ship to survive anything, first speaker. Let us prove it. A tense silence followed as the Meridian ships conferred, their hull patterns shifting in what Sarah had learned was their equivalent of intense debate. Meanwhile, the quantum anomaly continued its inexorable expansion. The nearest colony, Lyra finally responded, has a population of 3 million. Even if your vessel could maintain stability in the quantum disruption, you lack the capacity for such an evacuation. We don't need to evacuate them all ourselves, Sarah countered. But the Dauntless can establish and hold stable corridors through the disruption field. Your ships, with their superior speed and capacity, can handle the actual evacuation while we keep the route safe. The energy requirements are exactly what this ship was built for. Sarah turned to her chief engineer. Amara, how long to reconfigure our shield grid to project stabilization fields? 4 hours for basic coverage, 6 for redundant systems. A pause. But Captain, maintaining fields large enough for the Meridian ships will push our systems beyond tested limits. Sarah allowed herself a grim smile. When have humans ever let untested stop us from saving lives? Begin modifications. First speaker, we'll need your scientists' help to tune our fields to protect your quantum-based systems. The patterns across the Meridian ships shifted again, this time in what Sarah recognized as surprise. You would risk your vessel, your crew, to protect our people. That's what these overwhelming systems are for, Sarah replied. We don't build our ships like fortresses because we're afraid. We build them this way because when lives are at stake, good enough isn't good enough. The quantum anomaly's lightning-like tendrils had grown visibly during their discussion. But now the Meridian ships moved closer to the Dauntless, their hull patterns stabilizing slightly within the human vessel's existing shield envelope. Our scientists will assist with the modifications, Lyra declared. And Captain, thank you. Perhaps we were too quick to judge humanity's approach to space travel. There is wisdom in preparing for the worst. As the combined human and Meridian technical teams began their work, Sarah studied the expanding anomaly on her displays. They had 72 hours to save 3 million lives, using human determination and over-engineering in concert with Meridian quantum science. The Dauntless would be pushed far beyond its design limits, but that's what all those backup systems were for. Amara, she called to engineering. How many safety protocols will we have to override to generate fields that large? All of them, came the reply, accompanied by the sound of panels being removed and systems being modified. But don't worry, Captain. We built in backups for exactly this sort of situation. What situation would that be? The one where we have to break all the rules to do what's right. Sarah watched as human and Meridian crews worked together, each bringing their own approach to the challenge ahead. The quantum anomaly might be unprecedented, but humanity had built its entire space program around surviving the unprecedented. Now they would prove that overwhelming preparation and redundancy weren't signs of fear. They were tools of hope. The Dauntless hung in space at the edge of the quantum storm, its modified shield generators humming with power far beyond their designed capacity. Behind it, a line of Meridian evacuation ships waited, their liquid metal hulls rippling with anticipation. Before them, space itself seemed to tear and twist as the quantum anomaly reached toward the colonial world of Haven. Shield configurations locked. Amara reported from engineering, her voice tight with concentration. All redundant systems engage. Emergency power cores online and synchronized. Sarah watched the power readings climb far into the red zone. On a normal day, such levels would trigger automatic shutdowns across the ship. But today, every safety protocol had been deliberately bypassed, every system pushed to its absolute limit. First speaker, are your ships ready? Sarah asked, watching Haven's 3 moons glint in the distance. As ready as possible, Lyra responded from her command ship. Though I must admit, seeing your power readings, No Meridian vessel would dare operate at such extremes. That's because you build your ships to work perfectly, Sarah replied, checking the evacuation corridor calculations one final time. We build ours to survive failure. Lieutenant Rodriguez, begin corridor projection. The Dauntless's modified shield generators roared to life, projecting a massive tube of stabilized space through the quantum disruption. Inside this corridor, the laws of physics would remain normal enough for the Meridian ships to maintain their quantum-based systems. Corridor holding at 80% stability, Rodriguez reported. Quantum disruption levels within Meridian safety margins. First wave, proceed, Lyra commanded. 3 Meridian ships glided forward, their fluid forms entering the corridor with obvious caution. Their hull patterns shifted from anxiety to relief as they encountered the stable space within. First wave reports successful transit, Lyra announced, beginning evacuation procedures on Haven's surface. The next hours passed in a blur of constant adjustments and rising tension. The Dauntless's engines worked overtime to maintain position against the quantum storm's growing force. Every few minutes, another system would redline, forcing Amara and her engineering teams to route power through increasingly Byzantine paths of backup and emergency circuits. Primary shield generator showing critical stress, Amara called out. Switching to secondaries, tertiaries standing by. Sarah watched the evacuation numbers climb. 500,000, 800,000, 1 million. Each Meridian ship could carry thousands, but the process still took precious time they weren't sure they had. Quantum disruption intensifying, Rodriguez warned. Corridor stability dropping to 75%. Reroute power from life support on decks 12 through 15, Sarah ordered. We evacuated those sections anyway. Feed everything to the shield grid. A violent shudder ran through the ship as another primary system failed. Port emergency generator just went offline, Amara reported. Switching to backup, Captain. We're running out of redundancies. How many evacuated? Sarah demanded, gripping her command chair as the ship shook. 2.2 million, Lyra responded. But the anomaly's effect is accelerating. The colony's quantum infrastructure is beginning to fail. We're losing landing zones. Sarah studied the tactical display, mind racing. They needed at least another 4 hours to complete the evacuation, but the Dauntless's systems were failing faster than they could reroute power. Unless... Amara, what if we dumped the emergency antimatter reserves directly into the shield generators? A shocked silence fell over the bridge. Captain, Amara finally responded, that would bypass every safety system we have left. The power surge would probably burn out half our remaining systems. We might not have enough left to maintain basic ship functions. But would it work? Yes. For about 20 minutes, we could project a corridor twice as stable as our current one. Enough for the Meridians to evacuate everyone remaining in one massive push. First speaker, Sarah called. If we could give you a wider, more stable corridor, how many ships could you send through simultaneously? The Meridian vessel's hull patterns shifted rapidly as they calculated, with doubled stability. All of them. We could complete the evacuation in 15 minutes. But Captain, the stress on your vessel is exactly what we built it to handle, Sarah interrupted. Clear the corridor. Recall all ships. Amara, begin antimatter transfer procedures. Let's show our friends why humans believe there's no such thing as too many backup systems. The next 15 minutes tested every limit of human engineering. The Dauntless's hull creaked under stresses it was never meant to endure. Systems burned out across the ship as raw antimatter power flooded through jury-rigged connections, but the evacuation corridor held, wider and more stable than before. The Meridian ships moved with incredible grace and speed through the enhanced corridor, their fluid forms flowing in perfect coordination as they executed the final evacuation. Sarah watched the numbers climb rapidly. 2.5 million, 2.8, 3 million. Haven is clear, Lyra announced, her translated voice carrying both relief and awe. 3 million, 200,000 souls saved. Captain, your ship, the Dauntless, was a wreck. Half its systems were burned out, emergency power barely maintaining life support and artificial gravity. But as the last Meridian evacuation ships cleared the corridor, Sarah felt only pride. This is what we build for. First speaker. Not for the days when everything works perfectly, but for the moments when failure means death. How are your ships? The quantum interference. We are intact, thanks to your corridor. Though I must admit, watching your vessel intentionally push itself so far beyond normal operational limits. The Meridian ships moved closer, their patterns showing concern. Will you be able to make repairs? Sarah smiled as Amara's damage reports scrolled across her screen. That's the other reason we build in so many backup systems. Rodriguez, show them. Across the Dauntless's hull, emergency repair systems were already activating. Automated units emerged from protected bays, beginning the process of bypassing damaged systems and restoring basic functionality. You built backup systems into your repair systems, Lyra observed, her tone somewhere between amazement and amusement. Of course we did, Sarah replied. After all, what's the point of surviving if you can't get home to tell the story? As the quantum anomaly began to dissipate behind them, its mysterious purpose or origin still unknown, human and Meridian crews worked together to restore the Dauntless's essential systems. They had achieved something unprecedented, not just saving 3 million lives, but proving that different approaches to space travel, when combined, could overcome challenges neither species could face alone. 1 month after the Haven evacuation, the Dauntless floated in high orbit around the Meridian homeworld, its battle-scarred hull standing in stark contrast to the elegant orbital structures surrounding it. But the Meridian facilities had changed since their first encounter. Sarah noticed the differences during a maintenance inspection. Reinforced power cores, redundant shield generators, backup life support systems. Your people have been busy, she commented to first speaker Lyra as they toured the latest Meridian research station. The facility retained its flowing, organic design, but now a framework of reinforced structure lay beneath the liquid metal surface. The Haven evacuation taught us much, Lyra replied, her crystalline form refracting light in patterns Sarah had learned to read as thoughtful. We had achieved such mastery over quantum mechanics that we forgot the fundamental rule of the universe: entropy always wins. Your approach to engineering, while initially appearing excessive, proved its worth. They paused at an observation window. Below, Meridian engineers worked alongside human technical advisors, integrating reinforced power systems into their quantum manipulation technology. The results were promising. Vessels and stations that maintained their advanced capabilities while gaining unprecedented durability. Though I must admit, Lyra continued, some among our people still struggle with the concept of intentionally building for failure. Not building for failure, Sarah corrected. Building to survive failure. There's a difference. Their discussion was interrupted by Amara's voice over the comm. Captain, you need to see this. Primary Research Lab. They found Amara working with a team of Meridian scientists, their workstation displaying complex quantum field calculations. The chief engineer's expression held barely contained excitement. We've cracked it, she announced. The Meridian's quantum manipulation technology. We can integrate it with our shield systems, not just as separate systems working together, but a true fusion of both approaches. The display showed a simulation of the new technology. Traditional human shield geometry, multilayered and redundant, but now each layer incorporated Meridian quantum fields that could actively adapt to threats. Remarkable, Lyra observed, her form pulsing with interest. You've maintained the structural integrity of your defensive approach, while adding our ability to manipulate spacetime itself. But the power requirements, that's the beautiful part. Amara grinned. Your quantum efficiency combined with our redundant power systems means we can actually run it at sustainable levels. We're calling it the hybrid shield matrix. Sarah studied the technical specifications. How soon until we can test a prototype? That's the other reason I called you here, Amara replied. The Meridian Science Council has approved our request to modify a section of the Dauntless's shield grid. With your permission, Captain. Sarah glanced at Lyra, who emitted the subtle light pattern that indicated approval. Make it happen. Over the next few weeks, the Dauntless became a floating laboratory for human Meridian cooperation. While engineers worked on the hybrid shield system, other teams explored different combinations of their technologies. Meridian quantum sensors were adapted to work with human computer systems, creating detection arrays of unprecedented sensitivity. Human structural reinforcement techniques were modified to support Meridian liquid metal architecture. Watch this. Lieutenant Rodriguez demonstrated to a group of Meridian operators. He had been teaching them human emergency protocols. Full power loss simulation in 3, 2, 1. The training room systems went dark. Immediately, backup power engaged, then shifted seamlessly to emergency systems when Rodriguez threw in a secondary failure. The Meridian's forms pulsed with approval. Your species plans for cascade failures as a matter of course, one observer noted. We had always considered such planning pessimistic, yet we cannot deny its effectiveness. We call it pragmatic paranoia, Rodriguez grinned. Speaking of which, how are your crews adapting to the new safety drills? The concept of regular disaster preparation had been foreign to Meridian culture. Yet after Haven, they had embraced the human practice with surprising enthusiasm. Now, their ships and stations regularly ran scenarios practicing responses to various catastrophes. In the primary research lab, Sarah found Amara and her Meridian counterparts preparing for the first full test of the hybrid shield matrix. The Dauntless's modified section hummed with combined human and alien technology. Ready when you are, Captain, Amara reported. We'll start with a basic impact simulation. Sarah nodded. Proceed. The test results exceeded all expectations. The hybrid shields demonstrated the strength of traditional human defenses with the adaptability of Meridian quantum fields. When they intentionally overloaded the system, it failed gracefully through multiple backup stages, exactly as human engineering demanded. Beautiful, Lyra commented, watching the results. Though I suspect this is only the beginning. Already our scientists speak of applying similar principles to propulsion, weapons, even our basic infrastructure. And our engineers are studying your quantum manipulation techniques like excited children. Sarah replied. I've had to remind Amara to sleep 3 times this week. They watched as human and Meridian crews worked seamlessly together, each bringing their own perspective to shared challenges. The initial fear and suspicion of their first meeting had evolved into something unprecedented. True cooperation between species with fundamentally different approaches to space travel. We thought your overbuilt ships reflected fear, Lyra mused. Now we understand they represent hope, the belief that with enough preparation, enough redundancy, enough determination, any challenge can be overcome. Sarah smiled. And we thought your quantum manipulation was about achieving perfection. Now we see it's about understanding the fundamental nature of space itself. Together, Lyra finished, we achieve something greater than either approach alone. As if to emphasize her point, another successful test of the hybrid shields lit up their displays. Human determination and Meridian insight, working in harmony to forge a new path to the stars. The weight of preparation, once seen as a burden, had become a gift. A legacy written in reinforced steel and quantum fields, in backup systems, and graceful efficiency. 6 months after the Haven evacuation, a crowd gathered in the massive orbital shipyards above the Meridian homeworld. The assembled dignitaries, both human and Meridian, had come to witness something unprecedented. The launch of the Pioneer, the first vessel jointly designed and built by both species. Sarah Chen, recently promoted to admiral for her role in fostering human-Meridian cooperation, stood beside First Speaker Lyra as they observed the final preparations. The Pioneer was a sight to behold. 3 kilometers of graceful power that combined the best aspects of both civilizations' technology. "She's beautiful," Sarah commented, watching repair drones make final adjustments to the ship's hybrid hull. The surface rippled with Meridian liquid metal technology, but underneath lay layers of human-designed reinforcement and redundant systems. "And practical," Lyra added, her crystalline form gleaming with pride. "Your engineers insisted on triple redundancy for every quantum system. Our architects ensured each backup could adapt and reconfigure itself in response to damage. Neither of our species would have conceived of such solutions alone." The Pioneer's designated captain, Jennifer Torres, approached them. She had been chosen for her experience with both human and Meridian operations, having served as liaison during the development of the hybrid shield matrix. "Final checks are complete," Torres reported. "All systems showing green, or whatever color we're using for optimal these days." She smiled at the mix of human and Meridian technical terminology that had evolved during the project. Sarah nodded. "How's your crew adapting to the hybrid command structure?" "Better than expected. The Meridian's quantum neural interfaces work perfectly with our holographic displays, and having both species approaches to emergency protocols means we're prepared for pretty much anything space can throw at us." A soft chime announced the beginning of the launch ceremony. Sarah stepped forward to address the gathered crowd, her words translated in real time for both species. "6 months ago, our differences nearly led to conflict. Our human vessels, built like fortresses, seemed aggressive to the Meridians. Their quantum technology, elegant and efficient, appeared fragile to us. But when crisis struck, we discovered a fundamental truth: there is no single right way to confront the challenges of space." She gestured toward the Pioneer. "This vessel represents more than a technological achievement. It represents a new understanding. Humanity's determination to survive, combined with Meridian mastery of spacetime itself. Our redundant systems working in harmony with their quantum efficiency. Our preparation for failure supporting their striving for perfection." Lyra moved forward, her form radiating patterns of formal ceremony. "The Pioneer carries both our species' legacies into the unknown. Human armor protects Meridian quantum cores. Meridian sensors feed data to human computer networks. Every system, every component represents countless hours of cooperation, debate, and mutual learning." Captain Torres took her place beside them. "And now," she announced, "we put that cooperation to the test. The Pioneer's mission is to explore regions of space neither of our species could safely reach alone. We carry humanity's resilience and Meridian insight into the unknown." The launch countdown began. The Pioneer's hybrid quantum fusion engines hummed to life, their power carefully regulated through multiple redundant systems. The ship's liquid metal hull shifted, forming optimum patterns for space entry while maintaining structural integrity that would make any human engineer proud. "Launch in 10 seconds, Torres announced. "All systems nominal. All backups standing by. Quantum field harmonic stable." Sarah watched as the product of both species' labor prepared for its maiden voyage. The Pioneer represented everything they had learned from each other. That preparation wasn't paranoia. That elegance didn't preclude strength. That different approaches to the same challenge could combine to create something greater than the sum of its parts. 5 seconds. The Pioneer's hull gleamed, liquid metal flowing over reinforced plates in mesmerizing patterns. Its sensor arrays, combining human thoroughness with Meridian quantum sensitivity, painted detailed pictures of the surrounding space. 3, 2, 1. The hybrid engines flared to life. The Pioneer rose majestically from its berth, quantum fields and conventional thrusters working in perfect harmony. As it cleared the shipyard, its liquid metal hull rippled once, plates of reinforced armor sliding into place beneath the flowing surface. Beauty and strength, efficiency and redundancy, all working together. "Pioneer has cleared orbital space," Torres reported. "All systems performing within expected parameters. Permission to proceed with deep space initialization." Sarah exchanged glances with Lyra, seeing in the Meridian's light patterns the same emotion she felt. Pride, not just in the technological achievement, but in how far both their species had come. "Permission granted," they said in unison. The Pioneer's engines flared brighter as it prepared for its first quantum jump. On its bridge, human and Meridian crew worked side by side, each bringing their own perspective to the challenges ahead. The vessel's hybrid systems hummed with power, ready to face whatever the universe might throw at them. As the Pioneer disappeared into quantum space, Sarah reflected on the journey that had brought them here. What had begun with suspicion and misunderstanding had evolved into something unprecedented. Humanity's fortress-like vessels had seemed paranoid to the Meridians, while their quantum ships had appeared fragile to human eyes. Now they understood. True strength lay not in choosing between approaches, but in combining them. The Pioneer represented more than a technological triumph. It was a testament to the idea that different paths to the stars need not conflict, that the weight of preparation, carried by humans for so long, could be balanced by the grace of understanding. That together, they could reach further, explore deeper, and face challenges neither species could overcome alone. The new frontier beckoned, and for the first time, humanity and Meridians would face it together.